Hey guys, welcome back to Resilient Man channel. So today I want to talk about something serious that I believe a lot of men suffer from, and that's PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I mean specifically from your marriage and from divorce. That's what I want to talk about today. I know I've experienced it myself. I believe a lot of other men are or have or will if they are going through the process of getting divorced. So I wanted to talk about PTSD, how it relates to or how it affects men in a marriage and then after going through a divorce. So that's what we're going to discuss today. I want to talk first about what exactly it is. We'll get into some of the specific impact that when I go through this, a lot of you guys can probably relate to some of these things that you're experiencing. And then I want to share a few tips with you as well that will help you to cope with your PTSD from your marriage and or divorce, and hopefully help you to better process and heal, move forward to thrive in your life. So let's get into this. So, and again, welcome to, if you're enjoying the content, please like and subscribe to Resilient Man channel. It's good to have you guys here. Comment, I love to read your comments and get your opinions and what your thoughts are, and specifically on this post-traumatic stress disorder. So we all have heard of it, and what comes to mind is a combat veteran, the guy who was in the trenches and he was taking fire sometimes on a daily basis. Maybe he was wounded, he's seen his buddies wounded or even killed, and he brings that back to his life after being in combat. And he suffers from the post-traumatic stress that is reoccurring because he was living under that stress and strain on a daily basis. And of course, it takes its toll on a man mentally and emotionally, and of course, physically as well. So, but the thing is, guys, you can have a form of PTSD and have never been to war. And I believe that I have had that from my marriage and from my divorce. And this is what got me thinking about this. There's got to be a lot of guys out there who they have experienced or are experiencing PTSD or related symptoms because of the hell and the combat, quote unquote, that the combat zone that they lived in for years when they were married. It does take its toll. It has to take its toll. You can't live under a daily stress, a combat zone of years of conflict between you and your spouse and it not affect you. So again, guys, as you watch this, please comment down below, share your thoughts on how you might have coped or navigated through this. So, some of you guys can relate to this, man. You're in a terrible marriage and you come home. I mean, you dread going home. How many of you guys have literally gotten off work, say it's 5 o'clock, you've gotten off work, and you purposely look for errands you can run, or you go to the gym, or you go meet a buddy for a beer or two. You're killing time because you don't want to go home. Been there many a night, because if it doesn't start when you first get home, it will eventually sometime that night. It's stressful most of the time, to the point your marriage has evolved into your basically glorified roommates. And if the wrong thing is said, or if you don't do something correctly, or whatever the case might be, all hell breaks loose and the fight is on. You know, a lot of times in that situation, it evolves to where you're living in separate rooms, you're glorified roommates, and of course, there's no sex, there's no nothing, and you are in a contentious, adversarial situation in your own home. This is extremely hard for men because as a man, you want to come home from your daily your day being out in the world working and doing what have you. You need your home to be a sanctuary, and when it's not a sanctuary, when it's a war zone, that wears on you. And that's you. I wanted to make this message because what you're feeling is legitimate, man, and you need help, and you need to accept your situation, that it's not healthy, and hopefully focus on self-care, because marriage can be a combat zone, a war zone. And then if you evolve into divorcing, that is definitely a combat zone. We've all experienced that. Once you get to that point where you've separated, you are going to divorce, well, then a whole new set of combat, shall we say, because I've heard it said, your wife is no longer your wife. She is the opposing party's client. And that is a fact. Things are about to get ugly, and they do get ugly. And I know I lived in it myself, man, when I was, in a terrible marriage, conflict all the time, living in that stress. Then we're getting divorced, and you are literally anxious every day because what is the next phone call I'm getting? Is it going to be from my attorney with something else she's trying to claim or hurt me with? Am I going to the mailbox and I'm getting another, whatever from the attorneys that, oh, this motion was filed, or whatever the case might be? There's so many things that cause that stress, that trauma. And so it is legitimate. And so, guys, there are things as we go through, let's talk about the impact of marriage and of divorce trauma. There is an impact, and you got to take care of yourself. And it first starts with recognizing these trends or these impacts on you. So post-traumatic stress symptoms, they may arise during the marriage. I know in my case it did, and aftermath of divorce, especially if there's children involved. So there's a lot of things. First one would be overly negative thoughts about oneself or the world. Maybe your self-worth has been damaged, and you are thinking negative thoughts about yourself. And I would hope that you would put that into perspective, that, you've been living with somebody and in a battle with somebody who literally is your adversary, and the things they may have said or done, they do not accurately portray your self-worth. And so if you are having negative thoughts about oneself or the world, everything sucks, everything's terrible, I would hope you would, be able to put that in proper perspective and realize, as bad as it is, you are going to get through this, and we'll discuss some coping strategies here at the end. The next thing is exaggerated self-blame or blaming others. You do have to take stock and say, what is your part? What have you done wrong? If you are doing things wrong, stop, because it's only going to make things worse. The flip side of the coin is you should not overly blame yourself. It's all my fault. I couldn't be the husband she wanted me to be. Sometimes we know with a lot of women, there is no pleasing them. And there's the other half of the equation that you simply have no control over. And that's a fact. Another symptom would be a decrease in interest in activities that you usually enjoy. I've experienced that, man. I've had days where personally I love to go to the gym, I love to surf, I love to do things like that. And when I was going through really stressful times in my marriage or in my divorce, there were days where I didn't even want to do that. So if you're feeling that, that is a symptom of PTSD. It's normal, it's legitimate, but you're going to have to push through. The next one would be feeling isolated. You know, it's hard. It's hard. You are living in the home with your wife, and you know, you have your life together, and then all of a sudden you've separated and or getting divorced, and you feel alone, especially if she takes the kids, which most of the time the wife does. It does make you feel isolated. It does make you feel alone. That is legitimate if you are feeling that way. It's one of the symptoms, and it's a legitimate one. Irritability and or aggression. You know, it's real easy to get angry and be irritable and, you know, lash out. But realize it doesn't do you any good. It actually makes your mood and your health worse. And if you do the wrong thing from an aggression standpoint, it can really cause you a lot of harm with regard to your divorce and such. Next symptom would be paranoia. Man, this is very hard because I think a lot of guys, especially with what I described earlier, you worry, what's coming at me next? What is she going to do to me? How is she going to hurt me? Am I going to see my children? How much is child support going to be? What about alimony? There is paranoia that sets in. You need to put it into perspective. My attorney said something to me one day, and he was absolutely correct because it actually worked out very well. He said, don't worry about shit that hasn't happened. Let's let things play out, and we'll take them one at a time. And he was absolutely right. He was absolutely right. The next symptom of PTSD that you may be experiencing is risky or destructive behavior. You know, you're in a stressful situation, and I don't know, I guess it's kind of like in a war zone where the guys would get liberty and they go out and they get shit-faced drunk and they hook up with prostitutes and all these different things. Well, if you're engaging in destructive or risky behavior, it's destructive and it's risky. I mean, so you don't want to, you know, be destructive like that with maybe alcoholism or drugs or, you know, chasing women or whatever the case might be. That's just going to cause you problems. Next symptom would be difficulty concentrating. It's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, when you're trying to do your job during the day or put a thought together and you've got all this going on, and oh, there's the attorney calling me again, and there's my soon-to-be ex, she's hassling me. It's hard to concentrate. And then the last symptom would be difficulty sleeping. This can be tough. I mean, I would suggest you get some melatonin, go to bed at a decent hour, you know, do what you need to do that helps you sleep. Personally, I use a sound machine. I use the blackout curtains. I take melatonin. I do all those things because it helps me, and it helped me during those stressful times to get a better night's rest. Because obviously, if you're not getting good sleep, you're not thinking right, you're not feeling right, and it's going to affect the decisions that you make, and you don't want that. So now let's talk about, you know, look, if you have been married and it was really bad and it's stressful, now you're going through a divorce, or you've been divorced and it's life afterward, you may have a hard time adjusting. And the strange thing is, you may be struggling with the fact that now you have peace and tranquility, where before there was conflict all the time, you know, maybe on a daily basis. And so just like in a combat zone, when you're in combat, you're on your edge all the time. You're at the ready all the time. You're always focused, and you're aware or wary of the next attack. And that's what you've been living in, and realize that. So if you're having a hard time adjusting as you're going through the divorce or have been divorced, that's normal. It is normal. I know for myself, once I separated from my ex, and we had to be separated for over a year before I could file for divorce, the more I was away from her, away from the stress, away from the drama, the trauma, the PTSD that she created, the conflict, I felt better and better and better. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, everything. Because I was processing and I was healing. And that's what I strongly suggest you do. Take the time. Focus on processing and on healing. What you're feeling is legitimate. You are wounded. You are damaged. That's okay. You're not wounded and you're not damaged forever. You've been through hell, legitimately, and you've come out of a war zone that you've been in for so long. Well, you need some R&R, as they used to say, and you need to catch your breath. You need to regroup mentally, emotionally, and physically, and all these different things. So what you're feeling is legitimate, but let's slow things down so you can focus on self-care, because you are going to come through this. You are going to be okay. And you're going to go on and have your whole rest of your life to create and craft the life that you want to live with happiness and peace in it. So let's talk about some things to help you cope and help you move forward if you are suffering in a marriage or going through a divorce, been divorced, and you have a form of PTSD from that unhealthy relationship. The first thing that I would recommend strongly is find a therapist. Find a good counselor that you can talk to maybe once a week or at least once every other week. You can discuss what you're feeling, the anger, the bitterness, the paranoia, the worry, the concern, the sadness, all these things that you are feeling right now. I would strongly suggest that you find a male therapist. You want another dude, a guy, hopefully somewhere similar in your age. I wouldn't recommend a young guy. Someone who's got life experience, someone who's been married, someone almost to the point where if you're fortunate enough, find a guy that you wouldn't mind, that you could see him, having a beer with and shooting the shit, talking about your guy problems, your guy issues. That's the kind of therapist that you want to find. So, second thing, do not isolate yourself. It's real easy, especially when you're in a bad marriage. Number one, a lot of men don't like to admit that they're having problems at home. And then once you move forward into divorce, they definitely don't like to admit that, because we feel like a failure. We feel like we could not make it work. We couldn't hold our family together. We couldn't please her. We couldn't satisfy her. And isolating yourself is the worst thing that you can do. You want to stay connected to friends, to family, people that you can lean on, people that love you and people that care about you, because a lot of times, I know in my case, that's what helped me get through. People telling me, everything you're doing, all you can do, you're going to get through this. And I heard this so many times from friends and family. You have to go through it to get through it. And I was like, yeah, And once you go through it and get through it, you can move on and thrive in life. The next thing that I would recommend strongly, exercise every single day. Eat right the majority of the time. Look, man, I love I love my beer and wings. I love a good bacon cheeseburger or what have you. But you've got to exercise whatever way you prefer, be it at the gym or hiking or walking or whatever you enjoy. And the majority of the time, make sure you're eating right, okay? Because not eating right, number one, you're not going to feel good. And when you don't feel good, you don't mentally make the best decisions and react the best. Number two, you're going to put on weight, which is only going to bring you down as well. So focus on that. You will feel better if you exercise and you eat right every single day. I promise you. The next thing that I would recommend, process and take time to heal. Process what you did wrong. What are the things that you did wrong in your marriage and your relationship? Own them. Accept them. Think about, why did I react that way? Why did I handle things that way? Was it out of fear? Was it out of anger? What was it? And the reason you want to do this is because you want to really understand yourself. So as you move forward in life, you don't make the same relationship mistakes down the road should you meet a nice woman in the future. So process and take time to heal. Now, the second part of that, taking time to heal, you want to process and really understand why things played out the way they did. The taking time to heal, I would strongly suggest you stay single, do not date until you are healthy. And even then, you tiptoe, casual dating, no serious relationships, very casual. But take the time to heal, because I always looked at it as I was enjoying my solitude and I was taking the time to heal because I wanted to come out of it better and not bitter. I didn't want to go through the rest of my life feeling like a failure and being angry and bitter and, mad at women or whatever the case might be. I want to be healthy and happy and at peace. And I'm sure you feel the same way as well. That makes for a more enjoyable life. So, guys, those are the things that I would share with you today about PTSD with regard having PTSD from your marriage and or divorce. It's real. It's real. I've experienced it, and it was kind of interesting that it really hit me one day when I was thinking about what I was feeling was, this is a form of PTSD, and that's okay. That's legitimate. So I just hope you guys would, I hope this encouraged you. I hope it helped you. Again, if you would like and subscribe to Resilient Man channel, I hope you're enjoying the content. Comment your thoughts, because there are lots of other brothers out there who are in a terrible marriage or going through a divorce or just divorced, and they are suffering from a form of PTSD from it. They could use your thoughts and your encouragement as well. So with that, guys, I will leave it at that. And I will say, as I always say, know your worth, protect your peace.